Hi, everyone. This is Zealan Turner. I'm the Director of School Communications here at the Pennsylvania Leadership Charter School. I'm here today with
Grace Slear, and this is
Winging It.
It. I grew up being a ballet dancer. That's kind of where it all started. And it's actually a cute story. My ballet teacher, when I was in like pre-K, she was starting this dance studio, and she was just going to like different kindergartens and pre-Ks to like find kids who would seem to want to dance. And she came to my kindergarten, and I guess she just like saw me like flitting around and dancing and being a silly little child, and she was like, that girl needs to be in ballet. And then she like found my mom after and was like, here's my card, like bring her to the dance studio. And then I ended up dancing at that dance studio up until the age of like 14, and I truly owe everything to her. Her name is Suzanne Slen, and she just kind of awakened this like inner artist through ballet. All of her ballets were very story based and very theatrical, which I think was key for me because down the line I realized ballet might not necessarily be the form that I want to like pursue the arts. Because it was her, there was always some theatricals to it, and I just thrived in that. Dancing with her, I kind of got to an age where I was like, ugh, I don't know if ballet is for me. It's a little like boring sometimes. And I was a little just like, I was wanting a little more. So I was like, how about I expand into like jazz? And maybe I should like start taking acting classes and singing lessons. And at that time I was in like the public school system. And truth be told, I was struggling a lot academically. I was not your traditional student. I learned slower than the usual. I was a slower reader. I loved to learn, and I had a passion for learning, but the public school system wasn't quite aligning for me. The thing that really stood out about PALCS in particular to me was that I can take as much time on a lesson that I need to. It just worked for me, and I'm so grateful that my mom like found the school. And then there was CPFA attached to it, which when I toured the school, I just felt like I had kind of walked into my home in a sense, and I had auditioned and like I wanted to get in so bad. And then I was in 5th grade at the time. I come out of school, my mom like hands me the letter, and I open it and I got accepted, and I bawled my eyes out because I think I even get like choked up talking about it. I think even at that time, I think I knew this was about to be like the most important decision of my life. I just think CPFA gave me the space to, at a very young age, like hone in this potential all year round. And PALCS left a space for that where like I could do an assignment for a little bit, and then like if I needed a break, I could like sing a song that I wanted to work on, or like run some lines and then go back to my lesson. And I just think that really gave me an edge as an adult now, because in the young, early, like developmental ages, I was like really honing in on my craft, and I was like learning Meisner and Chekhov acting techniques, and I was singing every day, and I was just so immersed that I feel like the work almost like sunk into my DNA more, because I was learning at such like a young age these things that kids at a public school system like don't necessarily have like the means and the time to learn.
It also sounds like you were responsible for being in charge of your schedule, being in charge of when you worked on things, being in charge of getting your work done on your time. So do you feel like that prepared you for college?
And you know, the funny thing about school, so I went to college for 1 year, and then I left because I started working professionally that summer. And I'm gonna be honest, the things we were learning in my first year of school were things that I felt I had already touched upon at CPFA. I had already kind of learned these sorts of things, and that system of learning, of lecturing and sitting and having someone talk at you, I was like, this is not it for me. Like, I feel like I am ready to be out here. It was the summer after my freshman year of college. I got my like very first professional job. And it was just kind of some of those moments where I was working with these directors that I had read about for years. And I was in the rehearsal studios that I had like watched YouTube vlogs about from Broadway performers in high school. And I was like, I am like 18, 19, and I'm like here. And it was truly pinched me. And like,
I know you're giving me goosebumps. I'm like,
yeah. After that, I kind of made the choice, and again, kind of a bit of a theme in my life was like doing the risky thing, going and the non-traditional thing, going to a non-traditional middle school and high school, going to college for a year and deciding to leave. Risky, but it all was for the good of myself and for my craft, and it all just always felt right. I just had to follow that gut instinct. Although it was terrifying, I just had to do it. After that, I traveled a little bit with that summer program called Broadway Dreams. I became like an intern and like associate there, and they had taken me to Germany to teach some German students how to sing and dance and act with like some of Broadway's like finest actors and teachers and dancers. So I got to like travel, which like learning all over the place about how to like do that and be a human in other places, and also doing this with Broadway's finest. So it's like I'm meeting Tyler Haynes.
Win.
Yeah, win on win. And you know, when I had gone to Germany, I had met this director named Michael Arden, who is now like a Tony Award winning director. So I had met him and I had sang for him. He was part of the faculty, so I got to like work with him, which is kind of like unheard of. Like that, these things don't necessarily happen. So that had happened. I had traveled, yada yada. And then I get an audition for the Broadway show Jagged Little Pill, which it was honestly my like first Broadway audition I ever had, so I was like quite frightened. And I just like keep getting through the rounds and I keep making it and not getting cut, and I make it to the final callback and I sing and I do it, and it was about like a grueling 4 weeks later I get a phone call that I was going to be making my Broadway debut in that show, and I was understudying one of the leads. And yeah, it was truly, and it just was crazy that it was like after this whole entire like pandemic, I'm like now like
back and bigger than ever.
Yeah. And like you get the phone call, they're like, you're doing it, you're making your Broadway debut, and then like 4 days later you're in rehearsals and you're there and you're like, and then like a week later we were on like Good Morning America, and like my mom's like watching me from home, and like my friends' moms are watching me from home. They're like, it's Grace on Good Morning America. I'm like, and I think that moment, along with the actual first time I stepped on that stage to make my debut, were two of the coolest moments, because it just, there aren't words for it, truly. It's just, you work so hard, you do so many things, you sacrifice so much, like you take so many dance classes, you take so many voice lessons, every night you go to bed, you're watching YouTube videos on theater, you're practicing. It's just all this work that I put into it out of the love for it, and it's here and it's happened and it's paid off, and I'm only like 21. Like it just was unbelievable. Yeah, it's a very humbling career. I will say this career will humble you over and over, because you're like, I'm on top of the world, Broadway debut, let's go. The show closes and I was like, okay, so now we're back to the grind. Like, we got to start auditioning again. I auditioned for this one show for this very well-known choreographer named Andy Blankenbuehler. He choreographed Hamilton. So I go in and I audition for him. It's like a 2-hour-long dance call. It's very intense. And I'm in this audition with like a lot of older women who have been living in New York far longer than I have. And I'm like,
help me picture this. Is this like Dancing with the Stars where you have a choreographer who gives you like 10 minutes of these are all the moves and then you have the next, 10 minutes to figure out how to do it? Or like, how does that work?
Yeah, it is a little, it's a little like it's like a very high stakes dance class. So like you walk in and they're teaching you the combination, but they're kind of like breezing through it because they want to see who can pick up things quickly and who can get detailed. So it's very high stakes and it's very stressful, and my palms are sweating and my mouth is dry. It's a wild experience. And then you do it in groups of 4, which is like terrifying, and everyone's watching, and then they make a cut at the end. So like they're like, all right, thanks everyone, go back to the holding room, and they have your headshots, and they're like, okay, can this person stay? Can this person stay? Can this person stay? Can this person stay? And then if your name's not called, you get out and you go home. And funny enough, I had gotten cut from that audition, and I was like, oh well, that happens. But he had given me a compliment during the dance audition. He had just like walked by me. He was like, that was great. I was like, oh, sick. I was like, okay, so regardless of if I get it or not, I made an impression, because sometimes with casting, it has little to nothing to do with your talent and has a whole lot to do with like your height, your hair color, your vibe. Like, so I was just like, all right, just brush it off, keep going. 2 months later, I get an email from my agent being like, hey, Andy Blankenbuehler wants to see if you're available to dance for him for this mysterious gala. And my agent and I were like what is this?
Okay.
And my manager looks at the date. She goes, Grace, that is the date of the Met Gala. And I was like, shut up. She was like, and he's choreographing for the Met Gala. Because, yeah. Like, things fell into place. And then I was in rehearsals for a week to dance at the Met Gala. Because after they like walk through the museum, there's like a dinner situation and there's entertainment and there's like a surprise guest artist, and I was one of the dancers. And
do you know who the surprise guest artist is, or are you just like, I know the dance moves?
We knew on like the first day of rehearsal who the guest artist was. So that year it was Leslie Odom Jr., who was in Hamilton, so it made sense why he choreographed it. And yeah, so that was, honestly, I felt that entire performance, I like could not feel my feet. Yeah. Because I was like, here's Meg the Stallion, here's me. Like, here's Vanessa Hudgens, I'm like stepping on her dress. Like, I'm like spinning and like I can see my sweat beads like getting into their champagne. Like, it was like,
you're like, now you have a piece of me.
Yeah, I was like, and walking off of that stage and after that performance, it's kind of what I imagine like football players feel after they like win the Super Bowl. Like, that's kind of what it felt like, where we were all like, what? Like, what? Yeah. What was that?
Yeah.
And that was like another like pinch me, like, what is this career that I am doing? Like, what am I, like, what is this? It's after that, back to the audition grind. We're back to it. And then I got an audition for the Mean Girls movie that they were working on. It was like the Mean Girls movie musical. And I had originally auditioned to be a dancer. And funny enough, Spencer Liff, who was the one who gave me my first 2 jobs, was best friends with the choreographer of this movie. So, you know, it's about those connections, who you know, you put in a good word. And I ended up booking the movie as one of the dancers. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. I've always wanted to do like TV and film. That's always been kind of a dream, but something I like never really thought would happen. But here we go. And as the movie is being rehearsed and as we're starting to film, I was originally hired as a dancer, but as we keep going, I got bumped up from dancer to featured dancer from featured dancer to like some speaking lines and some like isolated shots of just me. And it was sort of this thing of, it happened very organically. It wasn't, it was just like, oh, Grace, like, let's get this shot of you. And, oh, Grace, like, speak those lines. And yeah, I don't have words for it, honestly. There's some things where I'm just like,
like, happened. Is this really happening? And you're just ticking all the boxes.
Yeah. And like you're in a room with Tina Fey, like, and obviously I've been obsessed with her forever, obsessed with Mean Girls, like, honestly was not expecting for her to be around as much as she was. But as we were filming the movie, I kept saying to myself, this is what I feel like the kids in High School Musical felt when they were filming. Like, I would watch High School Musical, I'd be like, they're just having the best time. Like, they're a family, like, they've been working on this. It's like a real, like, high school sort of thing. And it felt like that. Like, it felt like they were all, like, the high school groups. Like, there was, like, the crew. There were, like, the sound people. There were, like, the stagehand people, and then the dancers. But, like, everyone intermingled. It truly was maybe I think it's, like, my top 3 professional experiences I've ever had. And then again, with Broadway Dreams, they do a New York showcase. The program invites producers and directors and choreographers to come see the talent that they found over the summer, and put them on the stage and like get them in front of all these people. And remember that Michael Arden director I had talked about that I met in Germany? He's like, I'm doing a show this summer and I would like you to be in it. He's like, I would like for you to join the show as a swing and an understudy for 2 of the female leads. So then this summer, I was just in Boston at the Emerson Colonial Theater working on a show called The Queen of Versailles, starring the one, the only Kristen Chenoweth, which was... So Kristen Chenoweth plays this woman, and I had understudied the girl who plays her daughter. And there was one day in rehearsal where the actress who plays the daughter was out, and she had like another gig to go to. And in this second half of rehearsal, we were going to like run through Act 2. And in Act 2, there is a duet between the daughter and the mother. And I found out the night before that like this was going to happen, and the panic that ensued and the thought of like, I'm about like, this is the moment, like, this is the moment. It might not be on stage, but like, I'm about to like do this in front of the team, and I'm about to like sing with Kristen Chenoweth. And I will never forget how kind she was, how gracious she was, how generous she was, how special it was to like sit next to her and like sing this song with her. And it is burned into my brain, the image of like, because we were sitting quite close and like looking at each other, like the way she was looking at me, like her eyes and the sincerity, it so special. It was, I went home and I bawled my eyes out. I was like, that was everything I could have ever dreamed of. It was so personal. It was just in rehearsal. It was so private. It was such like a special experience. And after she gave me like this huge hug, she was like, I'm so proud of you. Like, you are just showering me with compliments. And I was like, little me who found out she got into CPFA in 5th grade, I don't even think in her wildest of dreams could have imagined that was happening for her. There's this sort of thing when you're an actor where you are waiting on other people to give you the okay to do what you want to do. You have to get hired to act. You have to get hired to sing. You have to get hired to dance. And, you know, there can be months when you don't get a job. There can be years when you don't get a job. And you have to be able to fill in that in-between time. You have to create a full artistic life for yourself when you're not working. And there was a time where I was just like, what am I doing? Like, it was like between like the Met Gala and Mean Girls. It was like almost a year where I was like, I have not gotten any work. I do not know what I'm doing. I I feel so creatively unfulfilled. I need to like have some agency over my work. And my friend Sage was like, I'm feeling the same way. And we both were writing our own music at the time, but we were both a little nervous to like share our own music. So then we decided to make a band. And it has been the best thing because I'm singing my own music that I write with my best friend that sounds good in my voice that I created. And it's important to take ownership over your artistic skills when in this industry it can feel a lot like other people are give you the approval and give you the time to do it, when I'm like, no, I'm just gonna do it myself.
Okay, things you throw away, and everything starts with an A.
Okay,
things
apple.
you throw away. Okay, great. Kinds of candy.
Oh,
Candy.
candy.
We'll come back.
Okay.
Things found in a hospital. Yeah, that one. U.S. cities. Albuquerque.
Amazing.
Is that a city? That's a city.
Yeah.
Things to do at a party.
This is so hard.
I was gonna say ate food. Can we say
Eight food. It's perfect.
math terms?
Arithmetic.
Yay! Colors.
Auburn.
Oh my gosh, you killed it. Okay, game terms. Okay, insects. Ant. Okay,
Oh,
sorry,
perfect.
it just came out of my mouth. Words associated with winter. Back to the other thing. Kinds of candy. Apple Jacks.
Oh,
cereal. It's a cereal.
I knew that was gonna be so hard.
It was really hard.
I've created a community of artists that I can collaborate with, and it's funny enough, Heather Dutton, who went to CPFA and PALCS, like on the off time, like I dance for her dance pieces that she does, and I find that to be so creatively fulfilling. And I'm working on like a one-woman show right now because I have the time, and I'm writing, and I'm in a writer's group, and I take acting lessons, and I take voice lessons, and I collaborate with my friends. So it's very important not to put all of your artistic worth on hired jobs, because at the end of the day, like, yeah, they're cool. Yeah, they're fun. Yeah, they're like pinch me moments. Yeah, in a status sense, they feel good. But at the end of the day, that's not what it's about at all. I find my inner artist far more satisfied when I'm dancing for my friend Heather than sometimes doing some of these professional jobs that I had done. And it's just important to keep that alive.
I feel like I would run out of breath just from like one goal to the next, and then I would be done.
A lot of sprinting, and I'm probably the youngest guy there by at least 15 years.
Okay.
And I'm the only one that shows up with the water bottle and stretches. All these, I don't want to call them old guys, but these old guys show up and they're just like quick little toe touch and like, let's go. And then they make fun of me because I stop for water. I'm like, guys, this is so much running.
Yeah.
How are you not crazy sore or like thirsty from this?
Yeah, that's wild.